Wow. What's up, people? The game didn't finish last night until it was really late, and I had people in my house already asleep, so I didn't want to mess with making a video last night. But before I start watching the early NFL games here, I thought I'd get on here and say, holy shit. I, I said in my pregame video that I felt good about this game if Jake Browning was able to play and play effectively, if his injury didn't you know, prevent him from being effective. And that certainly happened, but I didn't see this. Um, and that was easily the best game Jake Browning has ever played. That he had multiple drives in this game that were easily the best drives I've seen him orchestrate in his career. I mean, if you made a list of his most impressive drives as a Washington Husky, I think the top five all would have come from this game. And there was nothing like easy about it. He was just throwing lasers. He was just dealing. There were some drives late in the second quarter and early in the third quarter where he was just dealing. And you see where he's got the potential to be really good in next year and the year after. So that's exciting. Obviously, Jake Browning comes back from the injury and plays his best game. Some of the throws he made were just sick. I mean, that wheel route that they run with Dwayne Washington and Myles Gaskin, when they run the wheel route, that ball he throws can just be a thing of beauty. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the league. He doesn't have a cannon arm, but he's got nice touch on his passes, and he can throw lasers for intermediate gains when he needs to. So that's the story of the game. Obviously, Jake Browning comes back from injury and plays an absolutely masterful game. The play calling was on point. Browning was really good on short to intermediary passes. He was throwing a couple balls down the field, and the running backs were used very efficiently. The quarterback draw for the touchdown, I think Browning's fifth touchdown of the night. The design of that play was as good as anything I've seen in a long time from any team that I root for, because the receiver on the left side went into motion to the right, and that drew a defensive back over to the right to cover that receiver. And then Browning basically just took the snap and took off to the left because there was a vacated area over there because the defensive back was following the receiver. It was a thing of beauty. I don't know if that was Browning's decision or if it was designed, but that kind of stuff, I like that creativity. That's the kind of stuff I'd like to see from offensive coordinators. So, masterful game by the offense. Dwayne Washington had the long 69-yard touchdown. Gaskin, seems like we still don't get him the ball as much as we should, but on a night like tonight, that's not the worst thing in the world, because obviously the passing attack was working so well. But Gaskin had some good carries, especially at the end of the game when we were just trying to grind clock and slowly chew our way down the field. I think those guys deserve a lot of credit for running the ball effectively there. The offensive line, except for maybe very early in the game, was great. I mean, the first quarter of this game was, after the first quarter, I was like, oh no, this is going to be another game where the defense plays as good as they can, but the offense doesn't give us enough. And from that point on, the offense was just off to the races. So yeah. And another thing about this offense is Jake Browning still doesn't have a big-time number one wide receiver. He spreads it around. Perkins had some catches. Mickens had some catches. The backs have catches. I mean, it's a group showing, and obviously it's not a necessity, but at some point I would like one of these young wide receivers we have, like McClatcher, although he's more of a utility player, to establish themselves as being a big-time number one wide receiver. But just so we have the triplets. We have our quarterback of the future. We have our running back of the future. I don't know if we have our wide receiver of the future. Not a necessity, but I would like to see somebody show some kind of potential to be as good as Casey Williams was for us. Something like that. But yeah, the offense was masterful. The defense, the first drive, I saw some little signs of trouble. They clamped down. I can't say anything bad about anybody on that defense last night. Travis Feeney had the best game of his career. He was all over the quarterback. He was making plays in the running game. I mean, if you go look up his stat sheet, it was like 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 11 total tackles. It was nasty. Buda Baker had an interception. The secondary played really good. Now, I got to give them a lot of credit for this because Arizona was able to move the ball. I think they had like 320. They had 330 total yards on offense. So they were moving the ball, but repeatedly they would get down into scoring range. They would get, inside the Washington 30-yard line, and something would happen. They would turn it over. We would force a stop on fourth down. They would, throw a pick. We made plays when we had to keep them off the board. And obviously, as the game went on, Arizona was desperate and they weren't going to be willing to settle for field goals. So they were going for it on fourth down. So that helps your ability to keep them off the scoreboard. But I was very impressed by the way this defense just made plays. We weren't shutting down the Arizona offense. And, nobody's going to do that. Arizona has a really good offense, but they played so good. And they made plays whenever it looked like Arizona was threatening to maybe get back in the game. Like there was a drive, obviously, near the start of the third quarter, I think, where Arizona was moving the ball. And obviously, we got lucky that I think it was Andrew Solomon threw a backwards pass, and we were alert enough to pick it up when nobody on Arizona was even really thinking about it. But play after play after play, we would stiffen up as they got closer and closer to the goal line. So awesome game. I felt good about this one, but I didn't think it would be that good. I thought this was going to be a game where the offense maybe scored 24 points and then the defense would hold Arizona to 17 and we'd get a close win that way. I didn't think they would be this good. I mean, I said the defense owed us a good game after last week, and they delivered. I said the offense would be a lot better if Jake Browning got to play. They were, but even I didn't see this, guys. So 4-4, 2-3 in the conference. We got to get 2 more wins, and we're looking at 6. That's a bowl game in all likelihood. That should get us to a bowl game. We have 1 statement win. Well, maybe now 2. Depends on how good you feel about Arizona, but we have 2 statement wins. We went into USC and won, and now we dominated Arizona. So next week we got Utah. They showed some cracks. They showed some cracks the other day and got absolutely waxed, but I still have a lot of respect for them as being a really good team. But if we play like we played tonight against Arizona, or last night against Arizona, we'll be in that game. And I'll talk more about that later, but let's go Huskies. Big win. Browning showed that he is the future, and right now that's all you can ask for from these guys. So just an awesome way to start off your sports weekend. So see you guys later.